On today's show, we're going to build something fun and simple, and it's all for charity. These resin cast picture frames.
Hit it!
Welcome to the 2017 Woodworkers Fighting Cancer Drive. This year, we're going to build something very simple. I want as many people as possible to be able to build this. It's a simple frame with a resin casting in the center. So pretty cool project. This one lights up, which is pretty awesome. Since 2010, we have donated almost $100,000 to various cancer charities. This year, our goal is $15,000, and we are donating the funds to, it's actually called the Jimmy Fund, and they work with the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. So if you want to help out, all you have to do is build a simple frame with a casting in the center, and we donate money on your behalf. And this year, we're actually partnering with the folks at the Giddy app. It's a great social sharing platform where you can actually share projects that you've made and participate in contests and challenges, and they are matching donations as well this year, so it's going to be pretty cool. So let me show you how to build the frame, and stick around to the end of the video and I'll give you all of the details on how you can help out with the charity. You don't really need a lot of lumber for a frame, but I'm making 5 of them. The pieces are all flattened on one face and one edge at the jointer. I then trim them to rough length at the miter saw. At the planer, I'll bring the thickness to around 1 inch. The thicker the stock, the deeper the casting form. But if you make the frame too thick, it might look weird. So 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch is probably adequate. At the table saw, I trim some frames to 2 inches wide and others to 1.5 inches wide. For decorative effect, I think it'll be pretty cool to use a picture frame profile bit on one of the frames. On the back side, we need to make an 1/8 inch by 1/4 inch rabbet for the back panel. To cut the miters, I'll set my miter gauge to 45 degrees. The key to getting good results is to use a stop block. The final length of the pieces is totally up to you. Since we're not putting pictures in these frames, we don't need to conform to any particular dimension. To glue the frames together, I think it's worth it to splurge on a good miter clamp like this one. There's nothing worse than going through all of this trouble to make a frame, only to mess it up during the glue up. While the frames are drying, I'll cut some 1/8 inch hardboard to size for the back panels. In spite of your best efforts, you're bound to have at least one joint that isn't perfect. This is one time where a good quality filler is really the best option. After sanding, you'll never notice the gap. Now the frames are sanded thoroughly. Of course, the more detailed profiles tend to be a little bit more work. Using a block plane, I ease all of the sharp edges. My plan is to paint the hardboard white, so I first sand the shiny side just to roughen it up a little bit. That should help the paint bind better. I'll use some white spray lacquer. 2 coats should do the trick. For the frames, I'll pre-finish using clear satin lacquer, 3 coats in total. The back panel is attached using a bead of thick CA glue around the perimeter. So now for the fun part, we're going to use epoxy to make a casting inside our frame. Now I've got 2 different products that we're going to test out today. A lot of different products on the market. I don't know anything about them. I use epoxy as an adhesive and maybe a small gap filler, so this is new territory for me. Talked to Peter Brown. He's a popular YouTuber who does a lot of epoxy casting, and he recommended this Envirotex Light product. Later, someone else on Instagram recommended this Epoxy, which is a little bit more environmentally friendly and a little bit less toxic. Speaking of toxicity, we should talk about safety. After all, this is a Woodworkers Fighting Cancer video, and some of the components in here are not only toxic, but they could be carcinogenic, right? And that's something we want to avoid. So like anything we do in the shop, I've got quite a few nasty things in my finishing cabinet there, and I always protect myself. So that means you want to protect your lungs. I wear a respirator with organic filter cartridges in them. I also have a nice fresh breeze blowing through the shop. I have a window open on both sides and a fan, and of course I protect my eyes with goggles. And this way you just don't have any contact with the material, you'll be fine. Now keep in mind, if you have children working on this project, you probably don't want them to mess with the epoxy. right? And ultimately, if you don't want to touch the epoxy, then you can do this without it. If you want to just make a frame and do some hot glue things that you could put inside there, that's perfectly fine too. I don't want to force people to use a product they're not comfortable with, but protect yourself and you'll be fine. All right, let's do some pours. For my first pour, I'm going to use some of my son's favorite Mario Brothers characters. Some of them stick out too far and don't sit flat against the back, so I'll give them a little bit of a sanding and that should make them more stable. The Envirotex Light is mixed 1 part resin, 1 part hardener, following the manufacturer's instructions. You have to stir this stuff really well, a good 3 minutes before you could even pour. Notice that I'm making a very small amount on the first pour. Because many things will float in epoxy, the first coat is only there to firmly attach the characters to the backer board. And now I wait about 15 minutes. At this point, most of the bubbles should have risen to the surface. The manufacturer says you can simply exhale over the bubbles. But as I said, I have no desire to breathe this stuff in, so I'll rely on my heat gun. You can also use a propane torch if you're really careful, and worst case scenario, a barbecue lighter. After an overnight cure, here's what we have. Honestly, I love the way this looks, so I don't think I'm going to do a second pour on this one. Now let's do a holiday frame. For this one, I'm going to try embedding some lights into the resin. Now using CA glue, I'll attach the lights to the back panel around the perimeter of the frame. With a bunch of little holiday thingies placed in the middle, I'll pour the first layer of epoxy. The next day, I'll do the second pour. This time, I'll mostly cover the decorations, but I'll also drop in some more things, giving it a little bit more depth. For this one, it's okay that they float. We'll do one more pour after this one cures. And that is looking pretty festive. When I posted a few pictures of this process online, several people made reference to Han Solo, so I just couldn't resist. Adding some black metallic powder as an additive, I create liquid carbonite. Don't worry, he should be quite well protected, if he survived the freezing process, that is. Now I'll try a couple of epoxy pours. As you'll see, these don't go that well because I had a lot of trapped bubbles. Talking with the folks at Worth Doing Well, the thickness of the resin is the culprit. When it's super thick like this, the bubbles can't find their way out, so the recommendation was to slightly warm the resin first before adding the hardener. Every product has its learning curve. For these 2 pours, I'll do one seascape and another holiday version. And the first layer wasn't bad at all, but the second layer was the one that had tons of bubbles, and you could see the haziness below the surface. User error, next time I'll do better. So first of all, go to woodworkersfightingcancer.com and all of these details will be there in case you don't catch them all right here. Now you have until October 31st to build and submit your frame, right? So if you do submit a picture, we will donate $1 on your behalf to the charity. You can upgrade that to $5 by making a YouTube video showing your build process and what you made and talking about the charity and why this means something to you. And then you can actually get an extra $2 by posting to the Giddy app. If you put a picture or better yet, a little video there, they will donate $2 on your behalf. So all you have to do is build a frame and submit the pictures and videos, and you can have as much as $7 donated on your behalf to the Jimmy Fund. Now, one of the most successful parts of our charity drive each year is the auction. So we have lots of great tools and products that you could bid on, and your bid will go directly to the charity, which is pretty cool. And if you don't want to build and you don't want to participate in the auctions, you can always donate directly. Now, this year's project is so simple in concept that there is no plan for it. Just build a frame and put the resin casting in the middle, get creative with your scenery, and it should do just fine. But if you want to get even more into picture frame building, we actually just released a new series in the Guild, totally for free. So just go to thewoodwhispererguild.com, look for picture frames, and there are 5 unique frame designs there that you could use for inspiration for this project or any other project. So definitely go check that out. You don't have to do anything fancy, but if you want to, the sky's the limit. So thanks to everyone who builds along with us, thanks to the folks at the Giddy app, and thanks to our sponsors. And we hope you'll build along with us this year.